All right, hey there. Thanks for tuning in. Ever get that feeling like maybe, just maybe, this whole thing, this life we're living is all just a dream?
I know what you mean. It's like we're all walking around in this shared reality, but what if, and stay with me here, what if there's another layer of reality underneath it all?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what if we're all just sleepwalking through our lives,
Yeah.
Going through the motions, not really fully present or aware. And this isn't about lucid dreaming or anything like that.
Right. Not about controlling your dreams. It's more about recognizing those moments when you're on autopilot in your everyday life. Like when you're driving to work and suddenly realize you don't even remember the last 5 miles.
Oh, for sure. That's happened to me more times than I can count. Or like when you're brushing your teeth or doing the dishes, just kind of zoning out, not really there in the moment.
Exactly. We all have those moments. But what we're diving into today is the idea that maybe that's not just a random thing that happens sometimes. Maybe it's a clue to something much bigger. Maybe there's a way to wake up from this everyday dream.
Now, that's a fascinating idea. And to kick things off, let's talk about dreams, the kind we have when we're actually asleep. We all know how bizarre and nonsensical dreams can be. Like, one minute you're talking to a cat wearing a monocle, and the next you're flying over a city made of cheese. And while it's happening, it all seems perfectly normal.
Absolutely. And that's what's so interesting. In dreams, our minds don't question anything. We accept the most illogical scenarios without a second thought. Like, nobody in a dream ever stops and says, hold on, why is this cat wearing a monocle and why are we having a conversation about quantum physics?
Right. There's no internal filter, no logic, police shutting things down.
It's pure imagination running wild. But here's the thing. That same uncritical acceptance of bizarre dream logic, we often wear that into our waking lives without even realizing it.
Whoa. Okay, I'm curious. How so?
Think about it. How many times have you stressed over something that, in retrospect, seems completely insignificant?
Well, all the time.
Yeah.
I've wasted countless hours worrying about what people think of me or replaying awkward conversations in my head.
Exactly. Those are the kinds of everyday anxieties that, once you see them from a different perspective, start to look a lot like dreamlike nonsense. Like our minds are creating drama for their own entertainment, just like they do in our dreams.
Okay, I'm starting to see what you mean. So basically, we're saying that the way we experience our waking lives is often just as distorted and filtered as the way we experience our dreams.
Precisely. And just like dreams can leave us feeling happy, sad, or anxious, those everyday anxieties can have a huge impact on our emotional well-being.
Yeah, for sure. I know I've woken up in a bad mood because of a stressful dream, and I've definitely let little annoyances ruin my entire day.
Absolutely. It's all connected. Our minds don't always distinguish between the emotional intensity of a dream conflict and the lingering frustration of a real-world inconvenience.
So, if we're essentially living in this everyday dream, how do we wake up? How do we start experiencing reality in a more authentic, less filtered way?
Well, the first step is awareness, recognizing that you are not the dream. You are the dreamer. You are not merely a character in the story. You are the author. And once you realize that, you have the power to rewrite the narrative.
Okay, I like that. But how do we actually do that? How do we start taking control of this everyday dream?
Well, one key is understanding how our brains work. You see, our minds have a hard time distinguishing between vividly imagined experiences and actual reality.
Interesting. What do you mean?
Think about athletes who use visualization to improve their performance. They imagine themselves winning the race, making the shot, achieving their goal. And by repeatedly visualizing success, their brains actually start to believe it's real.
Right. Like their brains are getting a mental workout, even though they're not physically doing the activity.
Exactly. The neural pathways involved in imagining an action are very similar to the pathways involved in actually performing that act. So by repeatedly visualizing success, athletes are essentially training their brains to achieve that outcome.
But then, if our brains can be tricked into believing imagined experiences are real, what's stopping us from using that same power to create a more positive, fulfilling reality for ourselves?
Nothing at all. The problem is most of us use this power unconsciously in the opposite direction. We're constantly playing out worst-case scenarios in our minds, visualizing all the things that could go wrong.
Oh, I'm so guilty of that. I'm always imagining the worst possible outcome, and it just stresses me out.
We all do it to some extent, but by becoming aware of this tendency and making a conscious effort to focus on positive visualizations instead, we can start to reprogram our subconscious minds.
So we need to become more aware of our thoughts and start intentionally directing them towards what we want to experience.
Precisely. And here's another important piece of the puzzle. The reality we perceive isn't actually a complete or objective representation of the world. It's a highly selective edit created by our brains.
Wait, really? What do you mean?
Our senses are constantly bombarded with an overwhelming amount of information, far more than our conscious minds can process. So our brains act as filters, selecting the information they deem most important and ignoring the rest.
Like a movie editor, choosing which shots to include in the final cut.
Exactly. And this editing process isn't random. It's heavily influenced by our beliefs, expectations, and past experiences.
So if you believe the world is a dangerous place, your brain will focus on information that confirms that, even if it means ignoring evidence to the contrary.
Precisely. And the same goes for any other belief you hold. If you believe you're unlucky, you'll notice every little misfortune and interpret it as proof of your bad luck. But if you believe you're fortunate, you'll focus on the positive aspects of your life and interpret challenges as opportunities for growth.
That's so interesting. So it's not just about the events that happen to us, it's about how we choose to perceive them.
Exactly. We're not just passive observers of reality, we are active participants in its creation.
Wow, that's powerful. So how do we start consciously shaping our reality? Where do we even begin?
Well, a lot of it comes down to understanding the power of our subconscious beliefs. These are the deeply held assumptions we have about ourselves, about others, and about the world around us. And they operate beneath the surface of our conscious awareness, like a hidden autopilot guiding our lives.
So even if we consciously want to change our lives, our subconscious beliefs might be holding us back without us even realizing it.
Exactly. And these beliefs are often formed in childhood, based on our early experiences and the messages we receive from the people around us.
So if you grew up hearing things like, you're not good at math, or you're always messing things up, those messages can become ingrained in your subconscious mind and continue to influence you even as an adult.
Precisely. And the problem is our subconscious minds are incredible. They're always looking for evidence to confirm our existing beliefs, even if those beliefs are limiting or harmful.
It's like that saying, seeing is believing. But in this case, it's more like believing is seeing. Our beliefs shape our perceptions, and our perceptions shape our reality.
Exactly. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy. If you believe you're not good at something, you'll likely avoid situations where you might fail, and when you do encounter challenges, you'll interpret them as confirmation of your belief.
So we need to become aware of these limiting subconscious beliefs and start challenging them. But how do we do that? They're subconscious, right? So how can we even access them?
It takes conscious effort and consistent practice. But the good news is our brains are incredibly adaptive. Through a process called neuroplasticity, we can actually rewire our brains and create new neural pathways.
That's encouraging. So how do we reprogram our subconscious minds? What are some practical steps we can take?
Well, one powerful technique is using affirmation. This involves repeating positive statements that reflect the beliefs you want to cultivate.
So instead of thinking, I'm not good enough, you might repeat affirmations like, I am worthy, or I am capable of achieving anything I set my mind to.
Exactly. And the key is to really feel the truth of those statements as you repeat them. The more emotion you can infuse into them, the more powerful they will.
So it's not just about repeating the words, it's about embodying the feeling.
Precisely. And another powerful technique is visualization. This involves creating vivid mental images of yourself already living the life you desire.
So if you want to be more confident, you might visualize yourself speaking up in meetings or giving presentations with ease and charisma.
Exactly. And the more detailed and emotionally engaging your visualizations are, the more effective they will be. Remember, your subconscious mind can't tell the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. So we can literally rewire our brains by consistently focusing on positive thoughts, affirmations, and visualizations.
Absolutely. And the more you practice these techniques, the more natural they will become. Eventually, those new empowering beliefs will become your default setting.
So it's like we're taking control of the remote control for our minds and choosing to focus on a different channel.
Precisely. And the beauty of it is you don't need to wait for external circumstances to change before you start feeling happier and more fulfilled. You can start creating that inner shift right now, in this very moment.
That's so liberating. And it reminds me of something you mentioned earlier about trusting the universe. Can you talk a little bit more about what that means?
Sure. When we talk about trusting the universe, it's not about surrendering control or passively waiting for things to happen. It's about aligning yourself with the natural flow of life, knowing that you are supported and guided every step of the way.
So it's more like being in a state of allowing, being open to possibilities and trusting that things will work out for the best.
Exactly. It's about having faith in the process, even when you can't see the entire path ahead.
Like sailing a boat. You set your destination, but you also have to adjust your sails to account for the wind and the currents.
Precisely. And sometimes the wind might push you off course. You might encounter storms or rough seas, but even those challenges can ultimately lead you to a better destination than the one you originally planned.
That's a great analogy. So trusting the universe is about recognizing that there's a bigger intelligence at play, and we don't always have to control everything.
Exactly. It's about letting go of the need to micromanage every aspect of your life and trusting that you are being guided towards your highest good, even when things feel uncertain or challenging.
I love that. And I think it connects back to the idea of waking up from the everyday dream. Because once we realize that we are not the dream, but the dreamer, we can start to trust that we have the power to create the reality we desire.
Absolutely. It all comes back to that fundamental shift in awareness, recognizing that you are not a victim of circumstance, but a powerful creator of your own experience.
This has been such an insightful conversation. I feel like I'm starting to see the world in a whole new light.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, this is just the beginning. The more you explore these ideas and practice the techniques we've discussed, the more profound your transformation will become.
So for all of you listening out there, take a moment to really absorb what we've talked about today. And as you go about your day, pay attention to those moments when you're on autopilot, when you're caught up in those everyday anxieties. And when you notice those moments, gently remind yourself that you are the dreamer, not the dream. You are the creator of your own reality. And you have the power to wake up from the everyday dream and start living a life that is truly aligned with your deepest desires.
And most importantly, remember to be kind to yourself throughout this process. Waking up from the everyday dream is a journey, not a destination. There will be times when you fall back asleep, when you get caught up in old patterns of thinking and behavior, but that's okay. Just gently bring yourself back to the present moment, remind yourself of your power, and keep.
Beautiful. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. And remember, the journey of awakening is just beginning. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating the reality you desire.
We'll be here to support you every step of the way.
Until next time, stay curious and keep dreaming big. But remember, you're not just dreaming anymore. You're awake, and you have the power to make those dreams a reality. And as you continue on this journey, remember that inner voice we discussed, that subtle intuition that's always guiding you. Pay attention to it. Trust it. You might be surprised at where it leads you and the incredible adventures that await you on the other side of the everyday dream.
You never know. You might even find yourself having tea with a cat wearing a monocle. But this time, you'll be fully aware of the magic unfolding around you.
Thanks again for listening. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Until then, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep creating the reality you desire.
We'll be here to support you every step of the way.
See you on the flip side.
Take care.